Early 1800s, the Gulf of Mexico. For merchants and sailors on the open waters, one name inspires more fear than any other. Jean Lafitte.
Lafitte commands a fleet of ships that prowl the Gulf of Mexico and prey on unarmed vessels. They then sell what they steal through a smuggling network that's based in New Orleans.
Jean Lafitte was the final version of pirates. So you have the Golden Age pirates who are working for themselves, but he's effectively working as a cartel or mob boss. He has an operation that's moving millions of dollars worth of merchandise.
He really caught the imagination of the American people because he was a bit of a showman, and he was considered to be something of a folk hero, like a latter-day Robin Hood to the people of southern Louisiana.
The reality of Jean Lafitte is darker, much darker. Tobacco and cotton are prized commodities, but so is something else: slaves. Lafitte would steal slaves off of slave ships, and then he would keep them in storehouses up and down the Gulf of Mexico until he could sell them.
At one point, he was pulling in about $1 million a year, so we're talking about billions of dollars in today's currency. He was one of the wealthiest men in the Caribbean. And it's a real mystery, not only what happened to him, but what happened to all that treasure.
The uncertainty also surrounds Jean Lafitte's early days.
Some believe he was born in France in the late 1700s. Others report him as being born around Port-au-Prince. From a very young age, him and his brother Pierre become very good seamen. They're taught how to fight with swords, how to shoot a pistol, how to command a giant sailing ship. And there's even legends that at one point they joined the French Navy to go and fight in the Napoleonic Wars.
Then, in 1803, one of the most consequential events in American history takes place. Napoleon's France sells the Louisiana Territory to the United States for a sum of $15 million. The United States gains all of the territory up and down the Mississippi River and west to the Rockies.
It doubles the size of the United States overall and gives them territory that stretches from the East Coast almost all the way to the West Coast. Strategically, New Orleans is now in a position where it's one of the major trading hubs of the United States.
This really transformed the people living there as well, or transformed their tastes, their desires in certain kinds of ways. They're rich or wanted to seem rich, and this is Lafitte's wheelhouse.
Sensing a big opportunity, the Lafitte brothers relocate and set up shop in New Orleans.
Lafitte first emerges, at least in official records, around 1805. He and his brother Pierre own a warehouse in the bustling port city of New Orleans, where they are able to distribute their goods that they've acquired through various means.
So we're talking tobacco, coffee, some indigo, cotton to some extent, textiles. He often had those luxury goods to offer to the population when they couldn't get them.
Then, in 1807, an act of Congress starts Lafitte down a darker path.
Amidst the turmoil of Napoleon's wars in Europe, American trade vessels are under attack by both the British and the French. So the United States passes the Embargo Act in 1807 that prohibits not only the importation of foreign goods into the U.S., but also the importation of slaves.
Because it does not outright outlaw slavery, what it does is actually incentivize people who are dealing in the illegal importation and trade of slaves. For someone such as Jean Lafitte, these acts actually only open new business opportunities for him.
The Lafittes launch full-blown attacks on other vessels, essentially becoming pirates. But to evade the law, Lafitte figures out a loophole by insisting he's a privateer.
The line between pirate and privateer is thin and very, very blurry, but essentially a pirate is illegal and is engaged in attacking and thieving. Privateers do similar things, but they do so under the guise of some sort of legality.
The difference is this. Privateers sail under what's known as a letter of marque. which is something granting sanction to the stealing of goods for nations at war.
Lafitte claims to be first a French privateer and then a privateer operating under the letter of marque of a small, independent nation called Cartagena. In reality, he's never taking resources back to Cartagena.
He was ultimately working for himself, but becoming a privateer gave him some guise of legitimacy in case he ever got stopped by officials that he couldn't outwit.
For the first few years following the Embargo Act, customs officials pretty much turn a blind eye to most illegal smuggling activity. However, over time, this smuggling activity becomes so rampant and so profitable that it begins cutting into their tax revenue.
For years, Lafitte manages to elude capture. Then, with the U.S. Navy in pursuit, he torches his secret compound and escapes into the Gulf of Mexico.
But naturally, rumors begin to grow, not only of his whereabouts, but of course the whereabouts of his enormous fortune.
Lafitte made so much money during his lifetime that many would say it was impossible for him to have taken it all with him. But if he took his treasure, where is it?
By 1814, despite being a wanted pirate, Jean Lafitte is revered by many New Orleans residents.
So while the locals may have been turning a blind eye to Lafitte's illegal operations, the American government certainly wasn't. And Lafitte drew the ire of one very prominent governor of Louisiana named William Claiborne. Claiborne sets off on a mission to end Lafitte's pirating operations once and for all. Lafitte has become public enemy number one.
Claiborne took it upon himself to post wanted posters for the outlaw Lafitte, offering a bounty of $500. Lafitte was thoroughly undaunted, and not only did he evade arrest, but he himself had posters printed, and those posters said, "Wanted Governor William Claiborne," and offered a reward of $5,000.
Governor Claiborne's not amused. He's coming in and trying to impose some order. He's trying to have the people of New Orleans respect the U.S. government. And so it's a direct affront to Governor Claiborne's power.
Their conflict reaches a boiling point on September 16, 1814, when the Navy sends the USS Carolina to lead an all-out assault on Lafitte's base in Barataria.
Now, this is a massive show of force by the U.S. Navy. Lafitte is surrounded by the USS Carolina and 6 gunboats.
The USS Carolina enters Barataria Bay and absolutely batters Lafitte's pirate camp with heavy artillery fire.
It seems that Lafitte's caught off guard by this. He ends up losing 80 men in the process, and he loses a number of sailing vessels as well.
Lafitte's men abandon their ships. The U.S. Navy burns several of them, and they're able to capture $500,000 of Lafitte's stolen goods, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million worth of goods today. However, what they don't capture is Lafitte himself. He's able to elude arrest by fleeing into the swamp.
It is said that Jean Lafitte sneaked away and found a special hiding place. A tiny little place called Orange Island, which is 130 miles northwest of his primary base in Barataria Bay. Now, Orange Island is right on the shores of Lake Pinier. It would have been a safe and easy place to go because it is reportedly owned by Jean Lafitte's brother-in-law.
The U.S. Navy did recapture a tremendous amount of wealth, but there's absolutely no way Lafitte allowed them to capture all of it. Anywhere that Lafitte is rumored to have been, there's rumors that that's where he stored his treasure, including that he brought his treasure with him to Orange Island, and that's where it still is today.
As far as we know, that was the last official sighting of him anywhere in American waters.